In this episode, I'm gonna share with you some of the common mistakes that you are probably doing right now. And these mistakes are commonly used, especially when you are starting out. So let's see in this episode if you are making these mistakes. So without further ado, that's what we're gonna talk about in this episode. So welcome back. In this episode, I'm gonna share with you and I will reveal to you some of the common mistakes that you are probably doing right now. And at the end of this video, you will discover these mistakes so that when you know these mistakes, then at least you can correct this on your next video content. Now, there are like maybe 3 common mistakes that I can share with you, and sometimes these mistakes often stops us from creating video content. So the first mistake that I can think of right now is that you sometimes think that you need to create a full-blown like tutorials. Now, let's face it, people doesn't have time to watch the full maybe 19-minute or 20-minute video that you created. And whether you admit it or not, this type of content, really takes up a lot of your time. So what you need to do, instead of you thinking about you really need to teach the whole thing, what about if you can just make a content or maybe just an overview of the thing that you want to talk about. So let's just say, for example, you want to teach people maybe how to make a garden. Now, you don't need to teach the whole thing that maybe it will take you maybe 30 to 50 minutes, but you will just create an idea or create an overview of the whole content on how they can make a garden. So just let's say, for example, you will say like, oh, in this episode, I'm gonna share with you how to make your own garden. So the first step is you need to have a space or a backyard so that this is where you will make your garden. And then second one is choose whatever plants you want to plant in that garden. Then 3, you need to groom and then harvest. So just give them an overview. You don't need to create a full-blown class because first, that will take you a lot of time to create. Second, no one really have the time to watch the entire video unless they're just wasting their time. So think about that. If you're still doing that one, then think about other strategies so that you can maximize your time and just create a shorter one. Maybe 5 to 10 minute video will do, okay? Not more than 15 minutes, because if your video exceeds like 15 minutes, then that will really bore your audience and that will really create a lot of objections to your audience. That's why maybe halfway through while watching your video, they will just opt out. So think about it, and that's the first common mistakes that most people do when they're creating their own video content. So the second common mistakes that most people do is that they think that they need all these like expensive equipment so that they can create a high quality video content. But whether you admit it or not, it's not just about the equipment that you are using, but it's about how well you know your equipment. Because like if you know your equipment so well, even though like you're just using your phone and then you know how to process, you know how to edit it, you can still make a really good video out just by your phone. And I'm gonna maybe do an example so that you will see how you can really maximize and how you can create video content just by using your phone. So if you can see right here, I have my camera right here. So most people, when they use their cell phone to take video, they usually use the video or the camera in front of their phone, which is not bad, and you will really exactly see what you are filming. But the downside of this is when you are using your front camera, you tend to look at your screen instead of the camera. And just say, for example, if I am gonna use this camera right now, what will happen is I will tend to look to the screen and talk to the screen instead of talking to the lens, which is like you and I are just facing, it's just like we are having a normal conversation. So think about it. When you are using your front camera, then your eye will tend to look at your screen. And sometimes you will just do this weird things like you are trying to find your angle and you're not looking to the camera, but you are looking to the screen. And the next disadvantage if you are using your front camera is that the front camera of your phone is low quality, which means the back camera of your phone has the highest quality between these cameras. So what you need to do is you need to flip the camera so that you will have the full advantage and you will have more high quality video. So now what you need to do is just do like you're facing the back camera of your phone, make sure that the camera is facing towards your nose or your chin. Because if you're gonna try to straighten the lens of your camera to your forehead, then you have a lot of room above you. So what will happen is, if you are doing that one, that means you will be out of frame. But if you are gonna tilt it down, at least your angle, and that will make your face a little bit like thinner, especially if you look like a little bit wider. So just tilt it down so that you have an angle, and just make sure, just try to get an estimate that your camera is facing or straight to your nose or your chin, so that you still have this room. Now, I might be a little bit overexposed right now because I have a huge light overhead, so this is how you film. And at least you can't see anything in your phone. So your eye will tend to just look at the camera, and at least you are connecting to your audience that you are talking to. So that's the common mistake that most people does when they are creating their own video content, especially if they're using their phone, and especially if you have a camera, which I am using right now, that doesn't have a flip out screen. So I need to use another monitor on top of my camera so that I can monitor myself, that to make sure that I am on frame. So that's the common mistake that most people do when making a video content. So the third mistake that most people do when they're making their video content, and no matter how high quality your camera is, or no matter how good your audio is, or no matter how good your content is, but if your footage or your video looks blurry, there's nothing much that you can really do about it. So if your camera can focus you as the subject, then try to find, at least maybe just use your phone. If you're trying to use a DSLR and you can even focus yourself, then better use your phone. At least your phone is better when tracking your face. So no matter how you move, no matter how quickly you move, at least your phone can catch up and focus you. But if you're just using a camera like this and you are using manual focus, make sure that you just stay still, or else you'll be out of focus. And there's a lot of trick that you can do so that you can be in focus. But think about it, one of the most important thing when producing video content is make sure that you are on focus. Not the background, not the accessories around you, but the subject. Unless there is a story that you want your audience to focus on that segment. Just say, for example, I am talking right here and you have the ability to focus maybe the gimbal that I have behind me, or the camera, or the books, then at least you can really like manipulate things. But if you don't know these things on the post-processing, then at least make your subject on focus for the entire video. So I guess these are the common mistakes that I can think of right now that most people, maybe including you and sometimes including me, because like I can't monitor myself every single time. Especially if I am run on gun, especially if I'm outside, because I can't carry my monitor because that's just another equipment and it looks a little bit intimidating if you bring another monitor when you go out. So I just use my monitor when shooting like this, and as well as if we have shoots outside like an event. So make sure that your video is on focus, and make sure the subject or the person who is talking to the camera is the one that is on focus. So think about how you can avoid those mistakes that I just mentioned. And these are just some of the common mistakes that most people are doing. So I can cover everything, but at least I covered the most common ones. So I hope you learned something in this episode, and if you do, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you'll get notified every time I post a brand new video. And if you're looking for more content like this, then make sure to subscribe and give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you find this content helpful to you, because at least I will know that I am creating the right content for you. And I think that's all for now, and I hope you learned something in this episode. And without further ado, I will see you tomorrow. Ciao for now.